So, what is adulteration? Adulteration is nothing but substituting the original drug completely or partially with spurious, that is nothing but the false. Okay, adulteration is the practice of substituting the original crude drug either completely or partially with spurious or similar looking substances. The latter may possess inferior chemical and therapeutic properties as the original drug or completely devoid of chemical constants as well as therapeutic activity. So, let us quickly go ahead again with the definition. Adulteration is nothing but practice of substituting the original drug. How? Either it may be partially, it can be partially or it can be total, completely with what? Other spurious or similar looking substances, and the later, that is the similar looking substances, the false or the spurious drug may have the properties. What properties? Either the chemical properties or the therapeutic properties inferior to that of the original crude drug, or they may be completely devoid of the chemical constraints and the therapeutic activity of the original crude drug. So, this is the definition of adulteration. So, what is the need of adulteration? Nowadays, as we all know, the natural drugs, it takes more amount of time or much time to get the natural drugs from the nature. So, in order to for the profit purpose or due to some ignorance, this adulteration is taking place. Okay. So, before in detail going about the adulteration, let us quickly go ahead with evaluation. So, what is evaluation? Evaluation is nothing but the confirmation of identity and purity of a crude drug. Confirmation of identity and purity of crude drug. As we all know, crude drug is unprocessed form of a drug, except that it can undergo a process of drying. Now, what is the need of evaluation? Why we have to identify whether the drug is pure, or why do we have to check whether the drug is pure or not? So, these are the three reasons for evaluation. To check whether there is any biochemical variation in the drug, and the effect of treatment and storage, I mean whether the drug has been changed due to the storage of the raw material, and whether the drug has been adulterated. So, in order to know these 3 points, we have to evaluate the drug to check whether there is any biochemical variation in the crude drug, whether the drug has been deteriorated due to the storage, or whether the drug has been adulterated. So, in order to know whether the drug has been adulterated, we have to perform evaluation. So, next. So, what are the different parameters of evaluation? So we have different parameters of evaluation, that is organoleptic, or it is also known as morphological evaluation. Next, microscopic evaluation, chemical evaluation, physical evaluation and biological evaluation. So we will go ahead with this at the end. So let's quickly go ahead with adulteration. So what is adulteration? Just now I have told, it is nothing but practice of substituting the original crude drug partially or fully or completely with other substance which is either free from or inferior in the therapeutic as well as the chemical properties. So this is adulteration. So what are the different conditions for adulteration? So adulteration can be of various types. So first one is admixture. So addition of one substance to the other due to ignorance. Suppose in case of roots, so as they are collected from the soil, so along with the roots the soil may also be added unknowingly. So this is mixing, admixture. And next comes the deterioration. Deterioration is nothing but the removal of constituents by some processes like distillation. So distillation, so usually volatile oil compounds, these are all extracted by distillation. So after extracting the volatile oils, the mark which is remaining, that will be again added. So this process is known as deterioration by some process, like it can be distillation or aging. Next, the term or the condition is sophistication. Sophistication is deliberate or wanted type of adulteration, mainly for profit purpose. So for as such, mixing the ginger powder is mixed with starch powder which is less in cost. So starch powder which is made slightly brown and it will be substituted, or ginger powder after the exhaustion of all the constituents, that is dried and again it is substituted. And the next term is substitution. The substitution, as the name itself, the drug is completely substituted with another drug. The original crude drug is completely substituted with the other drug. So example, you can take the example of the cotton seed oil, which is cheaper in cost, is substituted for olive oil, which is very costly. And next term to understand is the spoilage. Spoilage, as we all know, the drug spoil due to the attack of microorganisms, and that is mainly due to the presence of moisture. So the moisture content has to be maintained. So for example, digitalis, the moisture content should be less than 5%. So last one is inferiority, so substandard variety. So here the drug, the original crude drug is substituted with the other variety that possesses the chemical constants which are substandard in nature, that is inferior in nature. So example, we can take the example of 𝗪𝗔. 𝗪𝗔 is substituted by nux blanda. So these are the conditions of adulteration. So this you can remember easily from the term adulteration itself. So just you can look here. So with A it is nothing but admixture, AD is admixture, first one. Second one with D it is deterioration, that is removal of constituents with some processes like aging, distillation. And next comes the sophistication. With S you have 3 S's. One is sophistication, which is deliberate type of adulteration, and another one is spoilage due to microorganism, and other one is substitution, completely removal of the original substance and adding another substance. So with S, these are the terms to be remembered, and the last one with I, it is inferiority, that is substandard variety. So question may be asked, which of the following is a condition for adulteration? Or it can be asked, what is deterioration? It is mixing of one substance with the other, or it is removal of constraints, or it is deliberate type of adulteration, or completely different substance is added. So options may be these. So you have to take the option as what? Sophistication is deliberate type of adulteration, wherein which constants are removed by some processes like aging, distillation. So these are all the conditions for adulteration. So in next we will go ahead with the types of adulteration. So there are two types of adulterations. One is direct or intentional adulteration. Second one is indirect or unintentional adulteration. Direct adulteration is mainly for profit purpose, knowingly it is adulterated, and indirect adulteration is due to ignorance. How can this happen? So during the collection and harvesting, all the people who are involved in collecting the crude drugs, they should be prior trained, and then they have to be involved in collection. So if like untrained persons or unskilled persons are involved in collecting the crude drug, then this type of adulteration occurs due to ignorance. So next we have different types of direct adulteration. So there are 8 types of deliberate or direct adulteration. So these are the different types. First one is substitution with substandard commercial varieties. Second one is substitution with superficially similar inferior drugs. Third one is substitution with artificially manufactured substances. Fourth one is substitution with exhausted drugs. Next, fifth one, substitution with vegetative matter from the same plant. Sixth one is synthetic chemicals. Next one is harmful adulterants, and the last one is substitution of powders. So these are the different types of direct adulterations. These can be remembered with a short term, that is SIM, SIM, and you have a subject in the first year, that is HAP, as well as you have another subject called EVS. So it can be remembered like this. So with SIM, HAP and EVS. So with these terms you can easily remember the different types of direct adulterations. So let's see what is S. S is nothing but substandard commercial varieties. I means it is superficially similar. I is inferior substances. M is manufacturing, that is artificially manufactured substances. Then comes let's take like this, SIM, EVS. So E is nothing but exhausted drug. V is vegetative matter of the same plant. S means synthetic chemicals. Then comes H, A and P. So H, A is harmful adulterants and P is the adulteration of powders. So you can remember with the term SIM, EVS and HAP, like this. S means substandard commercial varieties, superficially similar substances. M is manufacturing, that is artificially manufacturing substances. E means exhausted drugs. V means vegetative matter from the same plant. S means synthetic chemicals. And next HA, harmful adulterants, and P is the powder, substitution with the powder. Now let's go ahead individually with examples. Yes. next we will go ahead with the first type of the deliberate or direct adulteration, that is substitution with substandard commercial varieties. The name itself, substandard, it is nothing but less than the standard. So that means the adulterant possess the chemical constants which are substandard in nature, less than that of the original drug in chemical activity, in the chemical properties as well as the therapeutic activities. So examples here we can take the example of 3 important drugs, the 𝗪𝗵𝗶𝗁, that is strychnos 𝗪𝗪𝗶𝗁. So usually it possesses strychnine and brucine, and usually it is a CNS stimulant. So this drug 𝗪𝗪𝗶𝗁 is substituted with 𝗪 blanda. So here we can look 𝗪𝗪𝗶𝗁 and 𝗪 blanda. Okay, superficially they look little bit similar, but in the chemical properties as well as in the therapeutic activity it differs. And capsicum minimum is substituted with annum, which possesses capsanthin, and the Indian senna is substituted with a dog senna. So the name of the dog senna is 𝗪𝐶ia obovata. So Indian senna is 𝗪𝐶ia angustifolia. So Indian senna is 𝗪𝐶ia angustifolia. This 𝗪𝐶ia angustifolia is substituted with the dog senna, that is it is 𝗪𝐶ia obovata. Both of them belong to Leguminosae family. So this is the substandard commercial varieties. So 𝗪𝗪𝗶𝗁 is substituted with 𝗪 blanda, Indian senna with dog senna, capsicum minimum with capsicum annum. That is all about the substandard commercial varieties. Next, substitution with superficially similar inferior drugs. So here the thing is they look alike superficially similar, but they possess inferiority, superficially similar but inferior drugs. That means in the chemical constants aspects, therapeutic aspects, they are less than that of the original crude drug, but they look similar, superficially similar. So example, the saffron. So usually you can see here saffron. So Crocus sativus. So it is substituted with the safflower, that is Carthamus tinctorius. So Carthamus tinctorius, saffron is substituted with the safflower, which is less in cost. And then the original beeswax is substituted with the Japan wax. Belladonna leaves is substituted with Ailanthus leaves. So Belladonna, Atropa belladonna is substituted with Ailanthus. So usually you can see Atropa belladonna leaves, they are similar to Ailanthus glandulosa. Okay, so they look similar but they are inferior. So Japan wax and original beeswax. This is the original one, this is the adulterant. Here also this is the original saffron, which is Crocus sativus, and the safflower, which is the adulterant, okay, which is Carthamus tinctorius. This is the second type of direct adulteration or intentional adulteration, that is with superficially similar inferior drugs. So next we will go ahead with the third type, artificially manufactured substances. The third one is substitution with artificially manufactured substances, M. M is artificially manufactured substances. So the examples here are the coffee. So the original coffee beans, they are substituted, which possess caffeine, are substituted with chicory. So chicory is 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝗃 intybus. This coffee is coffee Arabica, which belongs to Rubiaceae family. And this 𝗃𝗃rium intybus, which belongs to Compositae family. So usually the roots of chicory. So the roots of the chicory, they are extracted, they are dried, they are reduced into small pieces and powdered and substituted in place of coffee. So the original coffee possesses caffeine, whereas the compressed chicory, it contains a carbohydrate inulin. So this is adulteration. Next comes artificially manufactured substances. Beeswax is substituted with paraffin wax. Paraffin wax, it is made yellow color and is substituted for beeswax, and the nutmeg for basswoods. Okay, so this is all about the artificially manufactured substances. Next, after the artificially manufactured substances, substitution with exhausted drugs. So this exhausted term is mostly after the extraction of chemical constituents. Usually the volatile oil compounds, as well as the colored compounds like colored saffron or any colored leaves. Example, the exhausted gentian, so which is a bitter drug, so which stimulates the digestive juices. So this bitter drug, it is usually made bitter with aloe. So usually after the exhaustion of the gentian, after the constituents have been removed, it is usually made bitter with the help of aloe. So that is aloe barbadensis, aloe ferox and all. So the aloe drug is used to make the bitterness, to cause the bitterness of the exhausted gentian. And one more thing is the exhausted saffron. Saffron, after the constituents have been removed, then it is artificially colored with some red colored substances. So this is the exhausted drugs, and also all the volatile oil drugs. So after the extraction or after the distillation of the volatile oils, for example, you can take clove. So after clove is Eugenia caryophyllus, which possesses volatile oil compound eugenol. So this clove flower bud, after distilling the whole oil, what they will be doing? So here the exhausted clove is again dried and substituted in the original drug. That is the substitution with exhausted drugs. So all the volatile oil compounds, all the colored compounds, all the bitter drugs like gentian are substituted using exhausted drugs. Next, use of synthetic chemicals. So usually here the drugs, the natural drug is substituted with some chemical compounds artificially. Example, balsams. These are the resins of cinnamic acid or benzoic acid. They have been adulterated with benzyl benzoate artificially with some synthetic chemicals. Next, citrus oils. As we all know, all the volatile oils, citrus oils like lemon oil, orange peel oil. So these possess citral, aldehyde citral, the volatile oils. So they are artificially substituted with citral. Okay. So usually balsams, these are the balsams, that is the resin and all the citrus oils which possess the aldehyde citral, they are substituted artificially with the citral. So, this is use of synthetic chemicals. Next, substitution of the original drug with the vegetative matter from the same plant. So, usually this happens in case of the bark drugs, wherein which, so as we all know, bark is removed from the trunk. So, usually all the epiphytes or small plants, they will be depending upon the bark for their food. So, when we collect the bark using either copy-saying method or felling method, so usually bark is collected using felling, copy-saying methods. Okay. So, usually during the collection, what they will be doing, like they will be collecting this epiphytes as well, the small plants which are growing on the bark. So, cinchona bark, that cinchona bark has some mosses, fungus like structure, green color mosses or epiphytes growing on that. So, along with the bark, sometimes these may be collected and they form the adulteration. Next comes the clove flower bud. So, usually as we all know, clove flower bud, it is Eugenia caryophyllus. So, the flower bud is also adulterated with the stalk. So, usually it is the flower bud which is adulterated with the stalk. So, this is adulterated with the stalks, these are the stalks. So, this is the presence of vegetative matter from the same plant. Next, harmful adulterants. So, few of the adulterants may be very harmful to the health. So, for example, colophony resin, so which is a resin, is substituted with amber colored glass pieces, which is very harmful, and the opium, that is papaver somniferum, the seeds are substituted with the lead shots. So, they look alike, same as the seeds, and they are substituted. Next, the cardamom seeds, the ilachi, the seeds, they are substituted with rodent, the rat fecal matter, which is very harmful. Then, the coconut oil, the original coconut oil has been substituted with some cheap white oil, which is harmful. These are all the examples. The colophony, so which is usually brown in color, so it is substituted with amber colored glass bottles or glass pieces. So, these are the opium seeds, original opium seeds. So, they are usually substituted with the lead shots, and the cardamom seeds, this is substituted with rodent fecal matter, and here the coconut oil with some white oil. So, this is all about the harmful adulterants, HA. So, the last one is the adulteration of powders. So, usually powders, they are easily adulterated. So, common example is the brick powder for bark powder. Brick powder is mixed with the bark powder and wood powder. So, usually the the bark powder will be brown in color and the wood is also brown in color. So, it is obviously it is mixed for profit purpose. So, powdered licorice. So, So this is all about the adulteration of powders. Adulteration of powders. So adulteration includes direct adulteration, indirect adulteration. So the direct adulteration, as we have seen, it is of many types. That is HAP, EVS and SIM. S is substandard, I is inferior, M is artificially manufactured substance, harmful adulterants, powders, exhausted drugs, vegetative matter of the same plant, and synthetic chemicals. So this is all about the direct adulteration. So as I've told, indirect adulteration is mostly mostly because of the ignorance or carelessness, or due to not following the GAP guidance, good agricultural practices, during the cultivation as well as the collection of crude drugs. So cultivation, collection should be done as per the GAP, good agricultural practices guidelines, and also skilled labor, properly trained labor. Okay, so if there is any change, or if untrained labor or workers are involved, then that causes unintentional adulteration. Next, and we will go ahead with the evaluation. As I have told, evaluations are of various types: organoleptic, microscopic, macroscopic. Organoleptics is also known as microscopic. Macroscopic, it is physical, chemical, as well as biological. What is meant by organoleptic evaluation? So evaluating with the organs of senses, like example, color, this is brown colors of bark, next odor, that is pleasant odor of all the volatile constituents, taste, sweet taste of honey and licorice. So honey and licorice possess sweet taste. And next, apart from that, the physical appearance, like ovoid tears of gum acacia, ribbon shaped tragacanth. Next, quills of cinnamon. So usually cinnamon occurs in the form of quills. So simple quill or double quill or compound quill. So, and also disc shaped 𝗪𝗵𝗶𝗁. So disc shaped 𝗪𝗵𝗶𝗁. So these all comes under organoleptic evaluation. Next comes the microscopic evaluation. So what does microscopic evaluation? Microscopic evaluation, what are the parameters under microscopic evaluation? So microscopic evaluation includes the leaf constants, all the leaf constants to be studied, as well as we have to study about the stomata as well as trichomes as well as the lycopodium, spore method, which is a quantitative microscopic method. So, leaf constants, here we need to go ahead with the stomatal number, stomatal index, palisade ratio, vein islet number, vein termination number. So, these are the parameters to be studied. So, palisade ratio, the number of palisades cells present beneath each epidermal cell. As we all know, the structure of leaf. So, usually all the leaves possess outer, so usually it possesses epidermis, so upper epidermis and lower epidermis. So, the epidermal cells are the parenchyma cells. So, usually leaf is of isobilateral leaf as well as dorsiventral leaves. So, isobilateral means upper and lower epidermis look similar. Isobilateral means iso means similar, whereas dorsiventral, so both are different, upper and lower epidermis are slightly different. So, usually outer layer will be the epidermis, followed by palisade parenchyma, so followed by the spongy parenchyma, which possess some air spaces. So, these are elongated tubular cells are nothing but the palisade cells, and innermost layer will be the vascular bundles, that is xylem and phloem, and the lower epidermis also same. So, number of palisade cells present beneath each epidermal cell is the palisade ratio. Next, stomatal number is the number of stomata present per square mm of the leaf surface, whereas stomatal index is S by S plus E into 100. That is the number of stomata, the percentage of stomata that form to the total number of epidermal cells. So, stomata comparison with the epidermal cells is the stomatal index. So, what is VIN? That is vein islet number, the number of veinlets that are present per square mm of the leaf surface midway between the midrib and margin. So, that is the vein islet number. Next comes the vein termination number, the number of vein terminations, the endings which are present midway between the midrib and the margin, that is per square mm. So, these are all about the leaf constants, that is palisade ratio, stomatal number, stomatal index, vein islet number and vein termination number. So, apart from the leaf constants, the microscopic evaluation involves knowing about the stomata. So, stomata are nothing but the kidney shaped cells present in the epidermis formed by the union of guard cells. So, in the epidermis, suppose this is the epidermis. So, epidermis, the few of the parenchyma cells are kidney shaped or bean shaped. So, this is stoma. So, the union of two guard cells form the stomata. It has a central pore. So, surrounding the stoma are the cells, specialized cells called subsidiary cells. So, based on the arrangement of subsidiary cells over the guard cells, these stomata can be classified as parasitic stomata, diacytic stomata, anisocytic stomata, anomocytic stomata an actinocytic stomata. So the name itself, from the name itself we can make out the arrangement of guard cell, subsidiary cells over the guard cells. So para, this is the stoma or the stomata formed by the union of two guard cells. So what is parasitic stomata? So usually the guard cells are parallel to the stoma. So the guard cells are arranged, subsidiary cells. The subsidiary cells are parallel to the stoma. That is the parasitic stomata. So usually, next comes the diacytic stomata. So diacytic stomata, the guard cells are perpendicular. Sorry, the subsidiary cells are perpendicular to that of the stoma. That is diacytic stomata. Next, aniso, the name itself, aniso, it is nothing but an iso, means unequal shape. So here the stoma is covered by three subsidiary cells. One is smaller than the other two. One is smaller than the other two. Next comes anomo, the name itself, A-N-O-M-B-O. N-O, no means number. That is, it is surrounded, the guard cells are surrounded by varying number, many number. So there is no particular count of the subsidiary cells. And the last one is actinocytic stomata. The name actino means it's like radiation or radiating. Okay, so radiating stomata, radiating subsidiary cells around the stoma form actinocytic stomata. So apart from the leaf constants about the stomata, we need to know about the trichomes, which are also known as plant hairs, which possess protective action. So trichomes are again of two types, covering trichomes and glandular trichomes. Covering trichomes are just a plant hairs present on the epidermis. So glandular trichomes, the name itself, glandular. So it possesses a glandular head and a tail. And again these covering trichomes are further classified as unicellular trichomes, bicellular trichomes, next multicellular trichomes, then unicellular, unicerate, multicellular, multicerate. So just remember, unicerate is, so trichome, unicerate means arrangement in a single layer. So this is trichome, this is unicerate multicellular trichome. And if it is like this, that means it is arranged in two layers. So it is multicellular, many cells are present, but they are bicerate. So these covering trichomes are further classified based on the number of cells, based on the arrangement of the cells in the different layers. In the similar way, this glandular trichomes are again classified into many types, like if they possess two cells in the head, they are bicellular, and if they are arranged in single layer, then it is unicerate multicellular glandular trichome. If suppose it is like this, it is multicellular multicerate, many layers it is arranged. So multicerate trichomes. And comes the Lycopodium spore method, wherein which we will be knowing about the percentage purity of drugs using Lycopodium spores. So this is all about the microscopic evaluation. So we need to study about the leaf constant, about the stomata, about the trichomes, about the Lycopodium spore method, and also types of calcium oxalate crystals. What are calcium oxalate crystals? These are nothing but the crystals which are formed in the plants, and the main use is just diagnostic diagnostic purpose to detect whether the drug has been adulterated or not. So usually these are nothing but these are formed like calcium from the soil. So the plant absorbs calcium from the soil and it reacts with the oxalic acid present in the plant during the metabolism, and it forms calcium oxalate crystals. So these are of many types like acicular raphides, needle shaped, so rosette shaped, so depending upon the classification. So here calcium oxalate crystals are also studied under microscopic evaluation. Next comes the physical evaluation. Physical evaluation includes all the physical parameters like moisture content, extractive values, ash values, so it includes moisture content, it includes ash values, extractive values, optical rotation, refractive index, solubility, melting point, boiling point, etc. So all the physical parameters are studied here. For example, the moisture content. So usually moisture content, as all the natural drugs are contain some of the other moisture, that moisture content has to be detected and that has to be subjected to further processing like drying, without which the moisture has several disadvantages, that is it adds the weight to the plant, and also some of the enzymatic reactions may be active, that is the active drug in presence of moisture can be converted into inactive drug. Hence, in order to avoid that, we have to measure the moisture and also subject that to drying, as well as it causes the growth of all the microorganisms. So these are the disadvantages of the moisture, hence the moisture content has to be determined. So this is usually determined using the method called loss on drying. So loss on drying, so this is usually a definite amount of drug is weighed and it is subjected to heating in an oven at 105 degrees centigrade, 105 degrees centigrade until a constant weight is formed. So the initial weight minus the final weight gives the moisture content of that particular drug. Next comes the ash values. So this ash values gives the information about the presence of all the constituents like organic constituents, inorganic constituents present in the plant. So usually there are three types of ash values, that is total ash, water soluble ash, acid insoluble ash, and sulfated ash. So these are the different ash parameters which we have to study. Next comes the extractive values. Extractive values gives the nature of the constituents present in the crude drug. So wherein which the amount of constituents using that particular solvents. For example, all the water soluble drugs, if the drug possesses water soluble constituents, then it is extracted with the polar solvents. So otherwise it is extracted with non-polar solvents. So it gives the nature of the constituents present in the plants. So these are all the other physical parameters. Next comes the chemical parameters or the chemical evaluation. So wherein which here after the extraction of the drug we need to study about the constituents present like preliminary phytochemical screening and the presence of the primary metabolites, secondary metabolites are studied here. For example, for carbohydrates, as we all know, Mollis test, Felling's test, Benedict's test. For lipids, it is Salcoxy test. For for proteins, it is Biuret test, and for the major secondary metabolites like alkaloids, glycosides, tannins, we have alkaloids, all the precipitations like Mayer's test, Dragendorf's test, Hager's test, Wagner's test. Apart from that, we have specific chemical tests like for quinine alkaloids, Thaloquin test, for indole alkaloid, Van Ork's test. So like that, and for quinine alkaloids, it is Murexide test. And for glycosides, so for cardiac glycosides, it is Keller-Kellyani test. And next, Legal's test, Baljet test. For anthraquinone glycosides, it is Bontrager's test, and modified Bontrager's test in case of aloe. And for tannins, it is Gold-Beater skin test. And for flavonoids, it is Shinoda test. So these are the different chemical methods of evaluation using chemical tests. Then comes the other evaluation parameters in chemical evaluation. It includes chromatography like TLC, HPTLC, GC, HPLC. So after the constituents have been identified, extracted, they are identified using these chromatographic techniques. Then comes the biological method of evaluation. So the last biological method of evaluation, it includes foaming index, and also knowing about the bitterness value, and also the animal studies. So foaming index is the activity shown by saponins. So bitterness is using quinine. So we will compare our drug with quinine, and also these are the animal studies like knowing about the screening methods for anti-malarial drug or anti-inflammatory drug or anti-diabetic drugs. So different methods. So this is all about the evaluation. So now let's quickly see the questions that may be framed under adulteration. So already previous questions which already we have got. So usually the question asked was the clove. So which is Eugenia caryophyllus. So here the biological source of the clove is the flower bud. So clove is adulterated with which one of the following? So one was given as mother clove. Clove bud is not adulterated with mother clove, bud, exhausted clove, stock. So the answer is bud. It is not adulterated with bud because the biological source is only a flower bud. Mother clove is already the matured ones, and exhausted means after the removal of constituents. Stalk is the stalk which is present beneath the flower bud. So this was a question. And second question, so second model question which was asked was, so which of the second question was, which of the following test is the chemical test to identify the adulteration of honey? So honey which is obtained from Apis mellifera or mellifica belonging to Apidae family. So usually it contains sucrose, fructose. So usually it is adulterated with artificial invert sugar. So the test name they have asked, the test name is the Feist test. So the name of the test is the Feist test. This was the second question. And the last one which was previously asked, the type of trichome present in Digitalis thapsi. So as we all know, Digitalis is substituted, or other species of Digitalis apart from Digitalis lanata or Digitalis thapsi. It is usually having unicellular stalk with multiserrate head. Stalk is unicellular. It has got multicellular, multiserrate, many cell, multiserrate means many layers, and unicellular stalk. So this was the question which was asked. So this is all about, in brief, about the adulteration of crude drugs and evaluation. So this is all about the evaluation adulteration. Thank you.